Hi everyone. So today we are here for this special video for YouTube where we are going to discuss all of the questions from biology that appeared in the 2019 board examinations for class 10th. I have them all here with me and we are going to be beginning with the discussions of them so that if they ever appear in your papers again you never have a problem. So it's CBSE Class 10th 2019 examinations and we're gonna be talking about biology, right? So I have all of them here section wise, so we can just get into it without wasting much time. So for section A, the first question is that why is biogas considered an excellent fuel? So if we see what is biogas, basically biogas has a large composition inside it where it contains a good amount of methane, it contains a good amount of carbon dioxide, and it also contains some hydrogen. So these three together, whenever you burn biogas, it's going to cause the least pollution. So the first advantage of it becomes is that it causes the least amount of pollution, and that is why it's an excellent fuel. Secondly, it releases a good amount of energy. So when two of your greatest requirements are being fulfilled, it's definitely considered as an excellent fuel, right? Yeah. Next question is the two ways in which glucose is oxidized in body, any two ways, and you have to mention the end products for it also. Okay, so for this question, firstly, we all know that the first step of glucose breakdown is that glucose is broken down to form pyruvic acid in the body. This breakdown process occurs in the cytoplasm, and further, this pyruvic acid can be broken down into three different methods. We have to mention any two here. So, the first one is where pyruvic acid is broken down to produce CO2, H2O, and energy. What is this? Yeah, we are talking about aerobic respiration. So, this is one way of oxidation. Second way of oxidation is where pyruvic acid will be broken down to form ethanol, CO2, and of course some amount of energy. And yeah, here we are talking about anaerobic respiration because this is the one which takes place in absence of oxygen. On the other hand, the aerobic one here always occurs in the presence of oxygen. So this is like the key marked difference between the two types that we just saw here. Okay, yeah. So after that, section C, the first question is to write the three types of blood vessels and give an example. Oh, sorry, I think I wrote the question down wrong. It's not to give an example of each, it is to give an important feature of each. That was the correct part of the question. I was just skipping my pen. Yeah. Right, so it was to give a special feature of each of them. So let's just do question C, section C first. So your three types of blood vessels that we see are arteries, capillaries, and veins. These are the three types of blood vessels inside your body. Coming to a feature about each of them, arteries are known to carry oxygenated blood. Veins are known to carry deoxygenated blood. That is why if you go through your veins in your hand, they are blue in color. Why? Because they are carrying deoxygenated blood. Just separating these. Capillaries, on the other hand, are concerned with the exchange of blood in tissues. So they mediate the purpose of exchange. They will cause exchange with your tissues. So this is like one important point each about arteries, capillaries, and veins. This was C1 for you. C2, they're talking about what are plant hormones, and you have to name the hormones for each of these criteria. Firstly, what are hormones? Let's just discuss about that. So, separating this question. doesn't block our view later on. Let's do C2 here. Okay. So what are hormones? Hormones are chemical messengers inside both plants and animals. What are the roles of hormones now? Different hormones have different roles. Their chemical messengers mediate different types of reactions inside your body. We have to name 1, 2, 3 and 4 hormones above according to the answers. So A is the one which causes growth. B is the one which promotes cell division. To give you the answers for them, the answer for the hormone which causes growth is auxin. Auxin causes growth. Second, the hormone which causes cell division is cytokinin. So cytokinin is the hormone which promotes cell division inside plants. Let's see the third and the fourth one. The C part is that the hormone which inhibits growth, and the D part is the one which elongates cells. So if we just go forward with it, the hormone which inhibits growth is abscisic acid, and the one which causes elongation of cells is gibberellin. But since gibberellin is not mentioned inside your book, it wouldn't be incorrect if you also go with auxin, because one of the functions of auxin is also elongation of cells. So you could go with either of them. It's better if you just mention both because it's not going to harm you in any way. Similarly, in the first part also, gibberellin would not be considered incorrect because they have related functions. C3. You have to name the plant which Mendel used in his experiment, and you have to talk about the progeny which he obtained when he crossed tall and short plants in F1 and F2, and you have to write the ratio that he obtained in F2. Let's discuss C3 now. So, Mendel used pea plant for his experiment. Pea plant, scientific name being Pisum sativum. This is the plant that he used for his experiment. Let's talk about his progeny now. So he crossed a tall plant and a short plant. The progeny that he got in F1 was this, all tall. Then he formed F2 using the same progeny. The plants that he will obtain in F2 is you have to demonstrate it using a Punnett square. Write down all the possibilities. So here he got a 3:1 ratio of tall to short. And if you mention these details in your answer, you're definitely gonna get full marks in here. C4 is, I just skipped. There's an OR part also in this question which talks about the difference between acquired and inherited traits. So you can just add in here. Inherited traits are the ones that you receive from your parents. So inherited traits are the ones which you are directly getting from your parents. It's better if you give an example. For example, we have eye color that you receive from your parents. On the other hand, acquired traits are the ones which you inherit yourself during your lifetime. So that is something that you pick up yourself in your lifetime and they cannot be passed down to the progeny. So for example, there's a particular trait, for example, like swimming. So you're learning swimming from somewhere. It's not like you pass on that gene to your children. So that becomes an example of an acquired trait. C4 is to talk about an ecosystem and a block diagram to show the energy flow in there. So what is an ecosystem? An ecosystem is the overall biota around you, biota and abiota around you. Right? So ecosystem, what is it? It's basically an interaction of all biotic and abiotic components of environment. So this overall interaction forms an ecosystem for you. Coming to the block diagram to show energy flow for the ecosystem. Yeah. So in here, the block diagram you could show in the form of basically a plant species. A plant species which is receiving the energy from sunlight. So this is solar energy. Then it is converting it into glucose, where you can mention chemical energy, being consumed by some animal. Animal after death, energy is being transferred to decomposers. And decomposers, what they are helping in? So they are helping in nutrient cycling. So a brief diagram on these lines is going to fetch you full marks here. Right. After this, section D is to talk about female reproductive system, contraception and 3 advantages of it, and section D is to draw a diagram of stomata or budding in Hydra. So I'm going to do these one by one for you. Since we have no space here, I'm going to clear this up, but I'm going to pick up all of these discussions. So we have to draw stomata, Hydra, and the labeling of female reproductive system. Okay, so D1, where we talk about female reproductive system, and E1 is where I will be drawing stomata for you, and I will be drawing budding in Hydra, just to show you how it looks like. So the female reproductive system they were talking about, they gave you a diagram in the paper, so it was lucky for you that you didn't have to draw it. But this is something what the female reproductive system looks like. You didn't have to draw this diagram. For you, it was only about labeling the different parts of it. Okay, I'm drawing it only in rough. So you had to label ovary. You had to label fallopian tubes. Then had to label uterus, the birth sac, and finally cervix. I'm also going to mention out vagina for you just in case it comes up in the upcoming year's papers. Then they began to talk about contraception, what contraception is and what the advantages of it are. So firstly, contraception involves undertaking measures to prevent unwanted pregnancies, right? So there are different methods of contraception and they're going to help in preventing unwanted pregnancy. So the first method becomes this only, that it avoids unwanted pregnancies. This is the first and most important thing for this. Secondly, it also protects you from STDs, that is sexually transmitted diseases. It's going to protect from that. And then it also helps in population control. So these become the 3 advantages of using contraception that the question was talking to you about. Okay, now coming to a diagram of stomata, it's very clearly represented in NCERT. So the diagram, you have to first show a stomatal pore like this. Each stomatal pore is to be surrounded by these kidney bean shaped guard cells. Just go through it. Yeah, you have to show tiny chloroplasts inside guard cells, both the sides, and you can just surround these with subsidiary cells which you may or may not label, as the labeling is not mentioned inside NCERT. So the things that you actually have to mention are the stoma, guard cell, and this chloroplast. Okay, so you have to mention this chloroplast in here, and so this is the diagram for stomata for you, right? After that, we have to talk about budding in Hydra. So a reproduction method in Hydra is budding, and they demanded a diagram for budding inside your paper. Okay, so how are you going to draw this diagram? Let's draw a Hydra body first. You have to draw its tentacles, as many as you want. Drawing Hydra is actually a very free flowing diagram. Okay, on its body you have to show this tiny bud. Then in a later stage you have to show how this bud is developing, how it's growing big inside the body of Hydra. Just draw it in a similar manner, these tentacles for you. In the final figure you have to show how the organism is like fully grown, the bud attached to it. You have to show a fully grown Hydra attached to the body of a parent Hydra. You have to draw this also completely. Right, and finally this detaches from the parent and grows as an individual organism. This is how you demonstrate budding in Hydra using a diagram. Yeah, so we completed our paper. That was pretty quick, and I hope you all understood everything. And I want to see you all back for other sessions. And I really hope that you give me your reviews in the comments below. You put up more doubts for what videos you would like to see. So stay tuned, like, share, and subscribe. See you all later. Bye.